Love lives here.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Jeff Wright, and I'm the senior minister here at Riverside CSL. And here today, I am dressed as one half of a costume, and I am the peanut butter half. So you can guess what my husband is, right? And really, how many places on the planet this morning, how many houses of worship do you know that started off with Cheryl Lynn's 1978 disco classic, To Be Real, Got to Be Real? If people want to know what makes Riverside CSL different, that's one of them, right? Because we are real here at CSL. We recognize that this music is divine. This music is the music of the soul, the music of the spirit, the music of the body. It gets our bodies moving and grooving and shaking, right? It energizes that vitality that is within each one of us. So how can it not be whole and holy, right? I think the ghosties have gotten our people, Sanja, so we're going to try this again. Right? There we go. Thank you. All right, that's correct. All right, there we go. I appreciate it. Yes, Eugene, got to be real. Love it. Absolutely. And right, so today we are talking about got to be real. Because why not, right? Why not a day when we're wearing costumes to talk about being real? Isn't that perfect? I think so. All right. So, as the song says, what you find, what you feel, what you know to be real. And what do you know to be real, my beloveds? That's a question. There's only one presence, one power. Thank you, Earl. What else do we know? I'm one with that power. This is the Earl Show. There's more people here. Come on. What else do we know? Keep it coming, Earl, but I mean, you know. Unlimited opportunities and possibilities. Anybody else want to out-practitioner Earl? Maybe our ministers or our practitioners? We're all one. Okay. All right. Excellent. Excellent. I love the joy, that this place brings. So, to be real is to be free. Would you agree with that? Yes? Okay, then. So, let's talk about what the opposite of free is. What's the opposite of free? Bondage. Ooh, people studying the science of mind. Yes. All right. So the opposite of freedom is bondage, right? But is bondage the truth? No. What is the truth? Freedom. So how do we experience bondage? We invite it in. We create it, right? We create it by limiting our freedoms ourselves. For the most part, right? We end up creating it. I am just walked out on this whole backdrop on TV. At any rate, we create it, okay? So why do we create it? We create it because we want to be liked. We want to be loved. We want to be acceptable. We want to belong, right? We want the sense of belonging. And so what we do is we start to make ourselves small. We start to disown qualities and those bits and pieces of ourselves that we think would be unacceptable or that we've been told or taught that are unacceptable, right? And, we're taught to be polite. We're taught to be agreeable. We're taught to get along, right? We're taught to be nice. Yes. Ooh, that's a biggie, isn't it, right? And so what do? We self-edit, right? We edit ourselves. We shrink ourselves. We make ourselves small. We turn ourselves into chameleons, showing one face to this side of the world, another face to that side, and yet another face over here. That we're constantly changing. We're adapting ourselves by the situations that we're in to hopefully feel accepted, to hopefully belong, to hopefully fit in. We're like chameleons, right? A chameleon on me right now would look like peanut butter. Right? I'm kind of blending into the background of the same color back here, so I'm like, I've disappeared, right? We do this because we have been taught that we have to do this. We've been taught, we've been socialized to make ourselves less than in hopes of getting more, being more, experiencing more. In my own life, I have been a chameleon many times. I've shrunk myself many times, trying to fit into this crowd or this group, trying to fit into my own family, trying to be accepted by my father, not my dad, but my father. When my father called me when I was 25 and asked me, "Are you living a homosexual lifestyle?" I was like, Dad, if you're asking me if I'm gay, then yes. A lifestyle is if I preferred vanilla over chocolate, or I chose to be a vegetarian. That would be a lifestyle. Or I chose to be a minimalist. That would be a lifestyle. But if you're asking me who I am, then yes, I am. And he took the position of love the sinner, hate the sin. Love the sinner, hate the sin. Oh, such acceptance, isn't it? No judgment there at all, right? No, not at all, right? How could you love someone fully, but yet hate part of who they are? That's not love. And over the course of many years, even though he took this position and we became estranged, that little boy in me, that little child in me still wanted my daddy's love. Even though I had the love of my father, I had the love of my dad, the man you all know, Keith Masagatani. At 25, I took his last name because he loves me unconditionally. So I took his last name until, of course, Eddie and I got married, and it was important for me to share a last name with my husband, and so that's why I changed it to Ryan. But I took Masagatani because it was important to me, because I felt loved, because I felt seen, because I felt heard, because I felt accepted. But even that love was not enough, because I was still longing for that relationship with my daddy. So I go back time and time again, trying to fit in, trying to make myself palatable, trying to make myself digestible, trying to find a way in, and it didn't work. You know why it didn't work? Because it wasn't me. Exactly, Earl. It wasn't me. What I realized is that I had to first give myself the unconditional love, the acceptance, the joy, the peace, the inclusion that I was seeking from outside of myself. I first had to give that to myself. And once I could give that to myself, once I could accept myself, trust myself, know myself, love myself, then I realized that what I was asking from him, unconditional love, I had been withholding from him as well. I was just as guilty. Crap. So I had to, in order to be the totality of who I am, peanut butter, to be the totality of who I am, to be in an integrity with myself, I had to offer him the unconditional love that I was seeking from him. And you know what? Things changed. That's when things changed. I first had to accept myself, because if I wasn't accepting myself, and if you aren't accepting yourself, you're not living your fullest, highest expression of who you are. Your soul does not want to be partial, to be divided up. It's not your divine nature to be in bits and pieces. Your soul, your divine nature, doesn't want partial expression. It wants to fully express. Because as Ernest Holmes said, the divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God-ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. Science Mind 409 there, Allison. Freedom. So in order to be free, right, in order to be real, it takes courage, right? It takes courage to be willing to disappoint others rather than to betray yourself. It takes courage to be possibly misunderstood, to stand alone, to walk your truth, walk your journey until people find you and join you. To be real means you have to have boundaries, healthy boundaries. You have to know what is and is not true for you, what is and is not right for you, what you will and will not accept, what you will and will not tolerate, what you will and will not do. And having those boundaries then form a structure that gives and provides freedom. No, that's not going to work for me today. Thank you for the invitation. Yes, I would love to. Having a clear yes, having a clear no, knowing where your boundaries are, and then maintaining your boundaries, because like I've shared with you before, the only person who ever crosses your boundaries, with the exception of violence, is you. It takes self-forgiveness to be real. It took me self-forgiveness not for being gay with my father, right? Not for being gay in that sense. It took me having to forgive myself for withholding love from him, from withholding love from myself. It took self-forgiveness for me to accept all the parts of myself that I had disowned, those disowned qualities. So there's this component of self-forgiveness, and there is truth-telling, being honest with yourself, being honest with others, not sugarcoating, not being evil, though, either, and evil being, not being mean or rude or, hurtful or spiteful, but being honest, truth-telling. And yes, being real means being vulnerable. People go, ooh, vulnerable, yuck. Ooh, I don't want to be vulnerable, yuck, 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 yuck. But I'm not talking about just like walking around with your heart completely wide open for anybody just to rip out and stomp on the ground or, to pound you down, no, but being vulnerable with discernment. There are times when it is definitely prudent for your safety and security, whether it be physical, emotional, psychological, mental, right? To use discernment with who you open yourself up to and how far you open yourself up. But it doesn't mean that you have to come out of alignment and be somebody altogether different. How appropriate it is that we are talking about this on our Halloween Sunday, because when you are not real, every day is Halloween. Every day is Halloween when you are not real. Because you are constantly wearing a mask, you're constantly wearing a costume, and it is hard to maintain that persona. It's hard to keep up that mask. And you go out in the world trick-or-treating, but guess what? There's not a whole lot of treats. It's a lot of tricks. Because you're having to try to be something you're not. And the weight of that, the energetic suck of that, is incredible. To always have to front, to always have to perform, always acting, always on stage, never letting your hair down, never just relaxing and being true with who you are. You see, when we deny our truth, then we're in bondage. But when we embrace our whole selves, when we get real, then there is freedom. One of the things my mom used to say growing up, and I'm sure she's going to chime here in the chat in just a minute, the minute I say it, is she would reinforce to my sister and I, don't lie to me. Don't lie. One, I'll always find out. But two, when you lie, then you have to remember the lie you told. It's much better to tell the truth because you don't have to remember the truth because you experience the truth, you live the truth. But if you tell a lie, you got to remember the story. And that takes a lot of energy to remember that story. And then usually you got to create more stories behind the lie because then there's more questions and then the lie just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden you're telling this whole fabricated story. And the energy that takes time and time again, because, mom asks you, and you tell her one thing, and then dad asks you, and you tell him something else, and then grandma and grandpa ask you, and you tell them something else. Well, guess what? That's a whole lot of energy. Where's the story? How am I going to keep it straight? Oh my God, what if they find out? So mom always said, just tell the truth. You might still get in trouble, but it won't be as much trouble as if you had lied. Because now I'm double mad. Mad at whatever it is you did, and mad for lying. So, when we tell the truth, right, when we live from that place of truth, oh my God, we don't have to expend all that energy. And if we don't have to expend all that energy, masking, fronting, performing, lying to ourselves, lying to others, wearing those masks, wearing those costumes. If we don't have to do all that, guess what? We have a whole bunch of energy that we can use for something better, something greater, that we can use to create with. Isn't that a joy? Wouldn't you rather be creating something? Wouldn't you rather be impacting the world for good, creating the world for good, rather than hiding, lying, pretending, worried that you're going to get found out, worried that you're going to get caught? You see, when you own all of who you are, then you can come to church on a Sunday morning dressed as a half of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and stand here and be real and be secure in knowing who you are. You can come to the center dressed as a minion or a witch or a Viking or a fisherman. Right? You can come here fully in your power, fully in your knowing, because then the costume becomes fun. The costume becomes amusing. The costume becomes maybe even another side of your personality that you're allowing to be seen for the first time. Right? It's another greater expression of you rather than trying to hide and conform you. I'm in a group right now. It's called Different on Purpose. It's a bunch of copywriters and entrepreneurs and me in this group. And one of the group members wrote this line this week, and I was just like, can I use that on Sunday? She's like, sure, go ahead. So she wrote this. The second you stop doing what you think you should, you start creating the things that only you can. Let me say that again. Yeah. The second you stop doing the things you should, you start creating the things that only you can. So when you stop pretending, when we let down the masks, then we get to create. We get to use all that energy to create those things that only we can. Because we've come to love ourselves, we've come to accept ourselves, we come to stand in our wholeness and perfection. And then we can emote and create from there. So what impact does this have? What impact does this have on the world? What impact does it have on you to be real? Well, for you, you're integrated, you're alive, you're whole, you're jazzed, you have energy. In your relationships, honesty leads to deeper connection. Boundaries become clearer. And the love that you experience in your relationships is genuine. And then in the world, as the more you tell the truth and live your truth, you become a living demonstration of the expression of the divine that you are as an individual. Your authenticity is resonant. It resonates with everybody else. And so the more authentic and the more whole and the more wonderful you show up as your full, glorious, half a peanut butter and jelly sandwich self, the more the world gets to show up as their whole, magnificent, perfect selves. And so in that, you got to be real. You got to be real. So let's go to tables. We have some discussion questions for you at the tables. You can start on moving on over if you like. The first question is, when do you feel most real? Question 2 is, where in your life are you still trying to meet someone else's expectation instead of honoring your own truth? And what's one small way you could be more authentic this week? Those are your questions for today. So I will let you move on over there and enjoy your conversation, and we'll check back in with you here in a few. Just because it's Halloween weekend doesn't mean you don't have homework. So tomorrow, get out your witchy broom and your witchy pen, and all right, and cast the spell here. Here we go. All right, so the practice for this week, the homework for this week, is each evening, take 5 minutes and ask yourself the following questions. Where did I show up as my real self today? Where did I show up as my real self today? Then, where did I shrink or edit myself to fit in? Where did I shrink or edit myself to fit in. And then third, what truth is asking to be expressed through me tomorrow? What truth is asking to be expressed through me tomorrow? So do those 5 questions in the evening, write those down. No judgment, just a gentle awareness. Because the more you honor what's real, the more radiant you become, my beloveds. So, being real isn't easy, but it is sacred. When you stop doing what you think you should, you begin creating only what you can. So stop performing. Stop playing small. Stop hiding the parts of yourself that make others uncomfortable. And stop apologizing for being whole. The world doesn't need a curated version of you. It needs you to be you. You've got to be real. And so it is. Coming together in consciousness. I invite you to close your eyes. And breathing in, recognizing that there is wholeness and perfection, divine order, flow, harmony, peace, love. This is what is creating all of life and all of creation, because this is the divine one in all of its glorious, magnificent expressions. All of these qualities, all of this beingness is the consciousness that creates. It is never separate. It is never torn apart. It is never divided. It is always one, unity, in multiplicity, in expression, recognizing that each one of us is a divine expression of this one. Each one of us is whole, just as we are. There is nothing else that need be added. We simply reveal the truth of who we are by letting our masks fall, letting the costumes drop, letting the guard down, revealing our true nature, which is love, harmony, wholeness, and perfection. We already belong. Belonging is our divine birthright. Connection and unity is who we are. And so I recognize that we are perfect in and of ourselves. We are divine emanations and impartations, expressions, holy and holy. And how beautiful it is to witness this, how beautiful it is to know this. And so as we go forth this day into our week, we let our real selves shine. We let wholeness be our guide. We let truth and love radiate from within our being. And we express joyously, as Amir is doing now, giving thanks for all of it. I release this word into law, knowing it is done. I let it be, and so it is. So I invite everyone to please stand and let's say this affirmation together. I choose to be real and let my true self lead the way. Here we go. I choose to be real and let my true self lead the way. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called love. Love is in my mind. Love is in my body. Love is in everything I do. I am it. I share it. I receive it. And I move love forward. because love lives here. Happy Halloween, happy Sunday.